end, and we'll turn in after that and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, first we give you all the praise, the honor, and the glory. Thank you for watching over the city today and all the city workers. We ask, Lord, that you bless those that are in need today in whatever struggles they may be going through. Bless those that are in this horrible pandemic as well, that they may be comforted. Bless, and now, Lord, we ask those that you come into this meeting and go in front of us as we conduct, and it is in Jesus' name that we do pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. You have the agenda in front of you. Does anybody have any deletions, additions? Not, we'll enter this into the agenda we will do tonight. We'll start with our minutes. We'll look at the public hearing minutes of August 10th, 2021. Does anybody have any additions, deletions, corrections? We'll enter those into record. Next is our regular meeting minutes of August 10th, 2021. Does anybody have any deletions, corrections, additions? If not, we'll enter those. Next, we'll do our oath of the office for the fire chief. Tony Kimbrough, come forward, please. Face the camera. Raise your right hand, please. I say your name.
I, Tony Kimbrough,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will honestly,
that I will honestly,
faithfully discharge the duties of the office for the city of Fayetteville,
faithfully discharge the duties for the office of the city of Fayetteville,
Tennessee, to which I have been appointed,
Tennessee, to which I have been appointed,
and which I am about to assume,
and which I am about to assume,
without partiality,
without partiality,
favor, or affection,
favor, or affection,
and that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of Tennessee
that I will uphold the Constitution of the state of Tennessee
and the United States of America,
and the United States of America,
and the Charter
and the Charter
and the ordinances of the city of Fayetteville.
and the ordinance of the city of Fayetteville.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Thank you. As we go into our reports, we have Eric Jones from the city school system.
Good evening. I'd like to thank you all for having me tonight. Mr. Hopkins has asked me to stand in as a poor substitute for him, but he is attending, he sends his regret. He's attending a meeting of all the directors of schools in the state, and they're about the business of making sure everything's going as well as it can for the students in the state. So I'm pleased and honored to be able to introduce some people who are going to come and give our report. We have from Ralph Haskins, Ms. Tanja Whiteneck, and the student she selected to report is Mr. Lucas Durham. They'll come up and report first. Then they'll be followed by Trisha Jean, who is here from Fayetteville Middle School, and she has selected Olivia Williams. And then finally, for the high school, Mr. Isaac Wheeler will be giving the report. Thank you.
My name is Lucas Durham at Ralph Haskins. We have 506 studious students, 41 terrific teachers, 27 spectacular support staff, 1 gnarly nurse, 1 awesome assistant principal, and 1 very prestigious principal. I'm a 4th grader at Ralph Haskins. I really love my school and I have been there since pre-K. This year has started off so well. In class, we've been singing chants and songs to learn new things. We played games like Pie Face, Bean Boozled, and Mr. Potato Head Relay to practice science and math skills. We've been using our Chromebooks too. I really enjoy playing quizzes live, vocabulary, and doing other fun things on Google Classroom. I also like to play Prodigy and ABCL when I finish early. In fourth grade, students get special things for AR points in the library, so I'm really excited about that. We've all been practicing the song "Each of Us is a Flower" for Grandparents' Day on Friday. Also, I'm so excited that Kona Ice has been coming for PTO. We all look forward to it. It comes every month. We've had a great start to the year, and I'm excited to see what else happens.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I noticed that you had a memorial for the 20th anniversary of 9/11. That was very nice. Any questions of our guests? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Olivia Williams. I am a 7th grader at Fayetteville Middle School. I take part in the FMS band First Priority, and I am a member of the Beta Club. Being a student at FMS, I know that all the teachers care about me and all the other students on the class rosters. The FMS staff show us they care by maintaining a structured yet loving environment. This week, we will be hosting a home soccer game match Wednesday at 5 against Huntley. Then, on Thursday, our football team will be hosting community at 6:30. We invite you all to come out and cheer our Tigers to victory. Thank you for your continued support.
I've been to some of your soccer games. They're enjoyable to watch. Thank you for coming.
Thank
you.
Hi, my name is Isaac Wheeler, and I'm here to give the report for the Fayetteville High School. We're expanding some of our programs at the high school, new opportunities for early post-secondary options with TCAT, especially industrial maintenance, and also with AP Access for All, which allows students to take additional AP offerings online to work towards earning online credit. Both Beta Club and FFA are getting ready to start their competition season in September. Due to COVID, there will be a mixture of some in-person and virtual competitions this year. And our enrollment is up to 384 total students. We have 116 in the freshman class, 88 in the sophomore class, 94 in the junior class, and 86 in the senior class.
Exciting ball game the other night.
Oh yes, sir. It was something. Didn't expect to be Upperman, but it was a great game.
Absolutely. Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones, do you have anything else?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing students. We always like to see.
Proud of them.
Absolutely. Next, I'll ask Ms. Megan Moore from our Fayetteville Lincoln County Library, who's our new director.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here. As the mayor mentioned, my name is Megan Murr, and I'm so pleased to be the new director of our library. And I look forward to working with an absolutely incredible staff, board of trustees, and our community to build upon our already thriving library. Currently, we're open under normal operations. We're no longer closed from 12 to 1 for cleaning. And we had a very great month of August. We had about 1,907 patrons that visited the library. And our programming was absolutely wonderful. We had almost 400 patrons participate in programs during the month of August. So we were super excited about that. A lot of those included some really fun special programs that we've just started. We were able to partner with the Humane Society. They brought some animals over, and our kiddos got to read some books to them. So that was a really wonderful experience. We had a local author come in and do a book reading and a book signing. We've begun virtual story times on Facebook for our patrons, and we also have begun some take and make craft activities for our youngest patrons as well. Our summer reading program was quite successful this year as well, so we're really excited to have wrapped that up and to have had a wonderful turnout. We have our continuous programs that have kept going. Program attendance does reflect that as well. Those are our Korean Jewels Club, our LC Anime and Manga Club, and our Last Thursday Book Club. And we're so excited that we were able to bring those back in person. So we look forward to continuing to do so, of course, with monitoring COVID trends in our community. Recently, we have also begun our story times virtually, and we're hoping to bring those back in person very soon, but still kind of watching those COVID trends as well before we do so. Our library staff do continue to clean and sanitize the facility and the materials daily, and we welcome everyone to stop by the library. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to ask David Bergman to come up. We had a situation recently. We have some people we want to recognize for their valiant efforts on first responder call we had.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm gonna read y'all a letter that I had requested to put in their personnel file. These firefighters did a tremendous job. So on Saturday, the 28th of August, 2021, the Fayetteville Fire Department was dispatched to an address to the city to assist Lincoln County EMS on an unresponsive patient. Both Engine 1 and Engine 2 responded to the scene. They donned their personal protective equipment rapidly and assessed the situation. They found a patient that was unresponsive, not breathing, without a pulse. The crew quickly connected the AED, analyzed and shocked the patient, and began CPR. The patient was placed in the ambulance and continued to receive aggressive urgent care. After a rather intensive battle, the patient was resuscitated and transported to Vanderbilt, where they continued a comprehensive treatment. Their actions are credited of saving that life of that patient. I would like to formally recognize the efforts of the members of the Fayetteville Fire Department and the Lincoln County EMS crews. I was astonished by the prompt response of all members at the scene. Their treatment exemplifies the true care that we strive at Fayetteville Fire Department. They are truly second to none. So to the following personnel, I want to thank you for your care, dedications to the city of Fayetteville. Your efforts did not go unnoticed. And if you would, when I call your name, come up and receive an Outstanding Achievement Award. Nolan Alcorn.
Have them stay up here after they stay up here.
Alex Mitchell.
Stay up.
Emma Alexander. Adam Ratley. Daniel Underwood.
There's somebody, so bring them in front. Maybe Tony and Davey get on either side and take a photo.
Can't see a smile now.
I want to note, we also had a couple other situations. It was last Thursday, we responded to where people were trapped in a vehicle, and our crew extracted those people And then also yesterday, we had a fire at the cotton mill that could have taken the cotton mill, but they got it, it's on the outside, didn't get inside. There's a lot of valuable stuff out there that's stored, so we want to commend them for those efforts as well. Thank you for what you do every day. We don't have any unfinished business. We'll go right into new business. Item A, traffic light at Liberty Road.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
reports, please.
Oh,
Report.
I guess so. You want to skip all over the reports? I guess we can go through the reports. Sure. All right, we'll start with the fire department.
The fire department for the last month responded to 117 calls for service. That included 1 building fire, 80 EMS runs, and 9 MVAs. And that's my report.
Any questions, Mr. Kimbrough? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Let's go to the police department, Mr. Templeton.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the board. For the month of August, we had 120 reportable incidents, 52 arrests, 35 citations, and 1,518 active police events. Any questions?
That's it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll go to finance, Ms. Rozelle.
Good evening. Our local option sales tax is off to a great start for the year. We received $275,322.99 in the month of August. Our state sales tax we received for the month of August was $28,956.38, which is 11.12% of our annual budgeted amount. The total state shared revenues received were $105,156.12. And to provide some kind of comparison, when I went back and looked at July of 2020's, our state shared revenues were $98,467.62. So with a kind of tried to go through and do a quick cross-reference just to find a few notable differences, and a couple of the things I found. Now in 2021, we're receiving revenues for sports betting and occupancy taxes from the VRBOs and Airbnb rentals, where we were not receiving those in 2020, but also in 2020, we were receiving the hall income tax that has now been phased out, and we no longer receive that. And the last item that I do periodically like to highlight, especially when we have our school system present, is our mixed drink tax. 1/2 of the mixed drink tax, which is liquor by the drink, it goes directly to the school system to support them. So in July's, we received $4,225.91, which is just over 12% of the budgeted amount, with only 8% of the year reported.
Any questions for Ms. Rozelle? Thank you. We'll go to Recreation Department, Mr. Ira Thompson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The pool backflow preventer was rebuilt and passed the FPU inspection. Our fall sports were canceled due to low numbers. So everyone should be getting that refund in the mail in the next within the next week. The new sports complex opening, we're determining the date now due to other circumstances that we're looking at. That's all I got for you.
Any questions, Mr. Thompson? Thank you, sir. We got Mr. Plunkett with Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor. Month of August, we had 140 ton of brush, 297 ton of trash. Adam Street should be completed. Curbers will be done their part in the next 3 to 4 weeks, and we'll do the paving. Pre-con meeting will be Friday on Norris Street. With hopefully another week or so, we'll be starting. Laurel Drive should be completed in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Really? Both sides?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. That'd be great. I know the residents back there will be pleased.
Any questions?
Any questions, Mr. Plunkett?
If you'll just share a little bit about the road dedication this morning
For Mr.
for
Bailey?
Mr. Bailey.
This morning, we dedicated the road behind Highway 55 and Speedway Market. Miss Gentry, she coordinated the most of it. Mr. Bailey's, we dedicated to Mr. Tom Bailey. His three sons and Miss Bailey were all able to attend. That's really one reason we've been putting it off. She's been under the weather and finally got a date that she felt pretty good. And Mayor spoke and one of the sons spoke, and it went real well.
Yeah, they were very pleased. It was, we've been wanting to do something for Tom for a long time, so it was very appropriate. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
We'll go to Ms. Gentry, Planning Codes.
Thank you, Mayor. 12 permits were issued last month. The total project valuation was $837,285. The total permit fees were $3,633.10. On property maintenance, Ms. Brandy Tipper transferred to the Planning and Codes Department as the new property maintenance inspector. She began logging her own violations, and that log is on your iPads. Ms. Tipper will have her first ICC class on complaint management in early October. The August Planning Commission meeting, 2 minor plats located in the urban growth boundary were approved, which was the Holt to Dalton minor plat that Mr. John Phillips brought through, and the Big Green subdivision minor plat that Knox Smith brought through. The parking lot area near the mural on the west side of the square is owned by the city, and we had a minor plat drawn up to combine the 5 lots into one independent parcel to clean up some property lines and make it easier for mapping. Connor Industries came back to the Planning Commission and received approval for an additional 60 by 120 accessory structure for storage. I want to take a moment to say that the 7th annual Cruise-In, I believe, was a very successful event for the city. We had beautiful weather last Saturday. Approximately 90 cars were registered. Midnight Jane was a hit. Mr. Mark Ramsey from the Moonshiners TV show enjoyed his first visit to Fayetteville, and he sent me a message afterwards thanking us for the kindness and hospitality that he was shown. He actually visited a few of our restaurants and stayed at the Hampton Inn Saturday night. So he was very appreciative for what we did for him, and I think he was a hit at the show as well. I do want to thank the board for the support. We've been doing this event for 7 years, and I think that it's something that people look forward to each year. And I want to thank each department that played a part in preparation and execution of the event.
Any questions of Ms. Gentry? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go to the city administrator's report. Mr. Howell.
Monica Summers has accepted the position of office coordinator. Also, we have made an offer to Ashley Fugate as the human resource coordinator, and she has accepted. Hopefully, be at work Thursday. We met with Laura Lee at the soccer field this evening. We very well, depending on some dates, take possession of that field within the next week. And lastly, the TML award, the city of Fayetteville will be receiving an award of excellence in community planning. The award will be presented on September 21st, 2021 at the annual conference in Chattanooga, Tennessee at the Tennessee Convention Center. That's my report, Mayor.
Any questions of Mr. Howell? Now we'll go on to new business. Item A, traffic light, Liberty Road. We spoke in finance and work session this month about, we have the approval from the state to do a traffic light right at the entrance of Liberty Road off the highway. It was discussed, there's a proposed quote, $15,000 to engineer that light. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the $15,000 for the engineering study.
Second.
Second on the Smalley, discussion.
I would say that this is coming out of Public Works. We don't know for sure if we're going to be able to do this project or not. We got a permit, but of course the funding, depending on, we got a permit to do it, and depending on the estimate on the funding, we'll have a lot to do with it. We do have some funds available that could be used for this project. So we could set aside these funds for this project. So this is what we have to have in order to proceed with getting some type of a cost estimate. If we proceed with it, it will be 100% city funded. The state won't do anything on funding that project, but we do have a permit from a state to do it, which is a really big step. And this permit has been here for a while. We looked at this a while back and maybe a couple of years ago, and we didn't proceed with it at the time, but the traffic at that intersection is getting worse and worse. So this is simply a starting point for the board to determine if we want to move forward with it or not.
Any other discussion? Pam, call the roll, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Ms. Small?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Item passed. Item B, overhead signs on traffic signals. We started in Public Works, on the finance, on the work session about putting street signs adjacent on our traffic signals for cross-reference. We have a proposed cost not to exceed $20,000 for brackets and the signs. Need a motion, a second to approve.
Here, I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Again, on this one, the labor is included in this estimate. There's a parts estimate and there's a labor estimate from FPU would do the labor. Everything's included. This isn't up to this amount. Preliminary figures that we've got looks like it will probably come in less than this. But this is, it does include the labor and the parts.
Any other discussion?
Mayor, I would just like to say that I think this is going to make our town look a lot neater. It would help the visitors and locals with directions because right now the street signs are very small over to the sides at the intersections and they're hidden by multiple utility poles, telephone poles, signs and things like that. This will put them overhead and out front. You can see them from a distance and they will have reflective material around them so they will illuminate at night. So I think this will be really helpful for our city.
Thank you. Pam, call the roll, please.
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Ms. Small?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Item passed. Item C, Fayetteville Parks and Recreation Facility User Agreements. We spoke in work session about a proposed agreement that's been worked on between the city school system and the city on the access of certain ball fields and maintenance for the school system through their sports programs. A motion, a second on this item.
Motion to approve, Mayor.
Second.
Second, Mr. Martinez, in discussion? Pam, call the roll, please.
Ms. Small?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Allen?
That item passed. Item D, new soccer goals and benches for LPRF soccer field was discussed in Parks and Rec, Finance and Work session to purchase new goals, benches, field markers, nets for the new fields for a cost not to exceed $10,000. A motion and second on this item.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a comment on this. The city of Fayetteville has paid the initial cost for this soccer complex for $1.5 million. This includes land, $500,000 grant, and $563,000 of taxpayer money. Now we're coming back with a cost for necessary fringes to play on this field. And we know that this is just the start. I just would like to ask, have we as a board done our due diligence by discussing and asking maybe that the city school system, Superintendent Billy Hopkins, about the possibility of the school system helping and sharing in some of these costs? Because after all, you know, the school soccer team certainly will be using the field, and this fall we do not have enough participants to have a recreation soccer league. So I would just like to see us sit down again with the school board like we did with the agreement. I think that worked out really well for everybody, and that is looked at every year. But look at some of the, sharing some of the cost in this. I think if you've got money in the game, it just seems to mean a lot more.
Any other comment?
Yes, I would. I'd like to say the city school system, when they do host, whether it's football, basketball, soccer, baseball, all the activities they put on, they bring a lot of outside business in, and it does help our local gas stations, restaurants, some hotel rooms they stay from out of town. So I truly, deep down inside, the school system really does help with all the terms that they have.
On this particular item, if I remember correctly, if I don't, I can stand corrected. We had some discussion on this, and I guess one of my thoughts was, this is one set, I guess, of goals and bleachers or whatever, but if and Mr. Jones is here and he can speak to this, I believe that he told us that the city school system would be willing and more than likely will bring some goals and bleachers and all to that facility to use. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So that'll help. I mean, that'll help. It won't necessarily help on this cost, but it'll help because one set will never be enough. It divides up into 4 sizable size fields. So he's made it clear that there is some good, in really good condition, and all that they will be able to bring into there to partner with us on this. So they'll help some.
Well, I think it's been discussed and mentioned that maybe we haven't asked them, or for a fact we haven't asked them, and maybe we should, because I think they are willing to do this.
Any other discussions? Pam, call roll, please.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mr. Bryant?
Aye.
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Ms. Small?
Aye.
Item passed. Item E, rescind rezoning 615 Maple Street West from R2 to C3. It came to attention that when we passed this last month, that we didn't do it in ordinance format, which is standard. So in order to do that action, we need to rescind this first. And the next item, we will actually do it in ordinance format. So I ask for a motion and a second.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we rescind the rezoning of 615 Maple Street West from R2 to C3.
Second.
Second, Mr. Martinez. Any discussion? Pam, call the roll, please.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mr. Bryant?
Aye.
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Ms. Small?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Item passed. Now, item F, ordinance 2021-12 to rezone 615 Maple Street West from R2 to C3, which is in the proper ordinance format. Need a motion and a second.
Mayor, I move we approve ordinance 2021-12.
Second.
Second, Mr. Martinez. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, last month, this ordinance came before this board, and as a part of the planning, IT and planning committee, we were told that we would be getting some information as far as the parking on this property, and we did not get that at that time. Still have not received that. So I just feel like, I don't know that this has been addressed as far as this property for future references, overcrowding, parking in the street, and things like that.
Noted, Alderman. We'll follow up and see where that information's at. Any other discussion? Pam, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bryant?
Aye.
Ms. Allen?
No.
Ms. Small?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
No.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
That's 3-2. I'll vote aye. All right. Next is item G, MH Outdoor Media. This is to renew the annual contract for 12 months for the billboard space we have on Interstate 65 North coming out of Alabama into Tennessee for a cost not to exceed $5,940.83. This money will come out of the tourism fund. Need a motion and a second to approve.
Motion to approve, Mayor.
Second.
Any discussion? Pam, call the roll, please.
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Ms. Small?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Item passed. Item 8, Spectrum Cable. Since FPU is exiting the cable business, the city has to look for a different mode for cable for the TVs within the city departments. It was discussed in finance and work session, proposed 3-year contract for cable service at fixed cost not to exceed $25,449. Need a motion and a second.
So move, Mayor.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Any discussion?
Yeah, what could be noted that because this is based on the number of televisions and the board cut a bunch of televisions out of this. 12, I believe, was cut.
Yeah.
In order to get this cost down. So
It's a 3-year contract, so. Any other discussion? Pam, call the roll, please.
Ms. Small?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Item passed. Item I, ordinance 2020-110. This is a budget amendment that wraps up the end of last year's budget for audit purposes, $276,728.09. Need a motion and a second, please.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance 2021-10.
Second.
Any discussion? Pam, call the roll, please.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Ms. Small?
Aye.
Item passed. Item J, ordinance number 2021-11. This is a budget amendment for items that the board recently approved, including public safety, public works for the Norris Street project, health, wealth, welfare and culture, transfer of capital on the new fire truck purchase. This is a budget amendment of $2,379,356.40. I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
I move to approve ordinance number 2021-11.
Second.
Second, Mr. Martinez, any discussion? Pam, call the roll, please.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Ms. Small?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Item passed. Item K, Kara Soccer Field, we discussed in finance and work session about the new soccer field and the cost to keep the condition of the field for a cost of $13,261.
Motion to approve, Mayor.
Second.
Second.
Take Ms. Martinez, discussion. Pam, call the roll, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Ms. Small?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
No.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Item passed. Item L, temporary building inspector stipends. We spoke in finance and work session the other day about with Mr. Batcher leaving and vacating the building inspector, the proposed percentage stipend for Mr. Plunkett, who is a certified building instructor, to come back on a temporary basis till that item is filled full time. I entertain a motion and a second.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we grant a stipend to Mr. Eddie Plunkett in the amount of 22%. That's based on his 25 years employment here with the city, with approximately 19 of those years as a department head. He has this certification. He is qualified for this job, and I think he would serve the city well to receive 22% increase on the stipend.
Is there a second? If there's not a second, that fails. Is there another motion?
Mayor, I move that we provide a stipend of previously approved amount of 15.15% when Mr. Plunkett took over the job before.
Or second?
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I feel like that this is discrimination against Mr. Plunkett. Others have received the 22% stipend. I've given his qualifications. Evidently, there is no policy or procedure on how these percentages are decided upon. I mean, is it a figure? Is it a percentage just pulled out of someone's head? I know before it was kind of left up to the city administrator, but right now, in the absence of that permanent position, how do we arrive at these? And I think he has the full qualifications for the increase.
Other discussion? Dave, call the roll, please.
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Ms. Small?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
No.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Item passed. Item M, Police Department AC unit emergency purchase. Recently, the air conditioning unit at the top of the police department failed. They did an emergency purchase of $6,520 under our policy. We just need to ratify the purchase. Need a motion, a second?
Motion approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Pam, call the roll, please.
Ms. Small?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Item passed. Item N, interim city administrator. We discussed the need to ratify the position of the interim city administrator in this temporary time until we have a new full administrator. Mr. Howell has been the assistant city administrator for several years. He has done the day-to-day, actually starting with a couple weeks before Mr. Collins' departure. It was the intention coming out of work session to name him the temporary interim city administrator. I need a motion, a second to that effect.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we appoint acting city administrator Richard Howell to the interim city administrator position until such a time as the full-time city administrator is hired with full authority of the charter, municipal codes, and personnel policy at his discretion.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to refer back to the representative from MTAS that came to visit with us and give us knowledge and guidance on this interim position. Referring back to the charter, it says the acting city administrator, section 2, the city administrator shall recommend to the board for approval an individual to serve as acting city administrator during any temporary absence or disability of the city administrator, period. That was done in naming Chief Howell. Then the charter goes on to say, when the city administrator vacates the position by resignation, termination, or death, the board may appoint a qualified person to serve as acting or interim city administrator until a permanent city administrator can be hired. I think it would serve the city better for us to go back in discussion with MTAS to get us a interim city administrator that has past experience as a city administrator. And this can be done, and it can be done with reasonable cost. We will not have to pay insurance. We will not have to pay half of the spouses or family insurance. You will not have to pay retirement. There's a lot of things that you will not have to pay by doing this. I think we need to continue and seek help from MTAS on this.
Can I speak?
Yes, sir.
The charter defines in detail the actual city administrator's responsibility requirements, education level and all. What the charter does not define, it leaves to the board's discretion. It is absolutely correct that this word for word is what the charter says about the acting city administrator and also the interim. But the part of it, when the city administrator vacates the position by whatever reason, The board may appoint a qualified person to serve as acting or interim, or acting as acting, or we done got to acting already, or interim city administrator until a permanent city administrator can be hired. That's what it says. The qualifications for the individual to serve in the interim position is not defined in the charter. It's not defined. It's left to the discretion of the board to determine what qualifications. The board determined that several years ago when the board, they partly determined that several years ago when the board appointed the police chief in that position. Before that, we'd had a finance director in that position, worked good, but we didn't have a finance person coming in with any experience, so we couldn't do that. So we went with the police chief. Now, that was at the city administrator's request. The city administrator requested that person based on his knowledge of what he thought that person could do. The board ratified what the city administrator asked. The board didn't really choose anybody. It was the city administrators. So when you get down to think about, well, what is qualified for this position? Well, there's nothing in writing on what is qualified for the interim position. But I would state or say that, in the past 6 weeks, the acting city administrator, Richard Howell, has been filled in this position. So in looking at the job he's did in the past 6 weeks and looking at how he's taken on whatever comes along, and looking at that, is it reasonable to assume that since he's did it well in the past 6 weeks, that he's qualified? There is no written anything about having about what the qualifications are for the interim. So I think we have to take into consideration what kind of a job we think he's done. And also, I think we have to take into consideration that we don't need to lengthen this thing out and just keep on going on down, going back to MTAS. The gentleman that came and spoke to us from MTAS spoke to us in detail about helping get a city administrator. That's in the works now. When the subject came up about what we should do about an interim city administrator, he didn't want anything to do with that. His position was, and I asked him point blank, I said, so your position is you're here to help us get a city administrator, but you're not addressing how we do the interim part. And that's just pretty well how it went. So I tell you, to kick this thing on down the road and try to try to go find somebody from who knows where, doesn't know anything about the city. You can tell by our committee meetings, and our meetings has got twice as long because we've got 2 or 3 times as much stuff going on. We just got all kinds of stuff going on. So whoever fills in this position is going to need to know all of these issues that we're dealing with on a monthly basis, and there's a lot of issues. Well, Chief Howell knows. He's been here the whole time through the committee meetings. He's been here through all of this. He's been dealing with it. So if we were to put it off and bring someone in, then we've got to have him train that person. We've got to have him train that person, bring that person up to speed on all of these issues we've got going on. Some very good issues been raised here tonight on this grant resolution. Some good issues have been raised, and we're going to have to see where that ends up at before it's all said and done, if we even get it. So I just don't want to keep kicking this thing on down the road. I'd rather just seem like everything's working pretty good the last 6 weeks. I don't want to have to bring someone in here and then ask the person that we're saying, no, we're not going to have you do it, but we want you to train him on what's going on. That's kind of where I'm at. It's not anything personal with anybody or anything. It's just, I just want to move on, get this thing done as quick as we can, and get this office filled and just move on. I think this would be a delay to to go any other route. That's my thoughts.
Other discussion?
There are city administrators out there that are very well qualified that do this on a regular basis. They know the basic facts of being a city administrator. Coming here to Fayetteville, they would just have to learn the people. And yes, some of the issues that's going on, but these are not issues that haven't happened in other cities. I mean, we've had employees to leave, employees to come, more employees to leave. They've dealt with this type thing before. So if I remember correctly, the gentleman from MTAS, when questioned about the interim position, he said, refer to your charter. He said that a couple of times, refer to your charter. And that's what I'm doing.
That's what I'm doing too. And also, we did 8 years ago, when we hired the previous city administrator, we did the same thing we're doing right now. The acting city administrator at that time was a finance director. And what we did at that time is we had 2 individuals that we kind of asked to carry that load. And they did. This is exactly the way we did it before 8 years ago. Everything worked out all right. It's just a difference of opinion. That's all. I respect everybody's opinion on this, 100%. But I just feel like this is our quickest way and probably the best way in the long run.
Other discussion? Pam, call the roll, please.
Ms. Hartman?
No.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mr. Bryant?
Aye.
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Ms. Small?
Aye.
Item passed. Item O, multimodal grant resolution R 2021-12. This is for what was discussed during the public hearing. This would be an application, doesn't bind us that we have to do it. Doesn't bind that what was currently proposed is actually the thing. And I appreciate everybody that came out and expressed their concerns because they're all valid. I need a motion, a second to approve.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve multi grant resolution R 2021-12.
Second.
Take Mr. Martinez, discussion.
Yes, I have a little bit of discussion on this. I made that motion to approve it, but I made that motion to approve it just to keep it moving, keep it in the works. The questions that's been raised here, concerns and all that's been, even if we get it, this is probably a long shot. We don't know. But if we are approved of this, there's been some questions raised here. And even though I made a motion to approve it, it is just to keep it moving forward and not just completely drop out. But these questions, were we to get this, needs to be addressed. And she said she would address them because there's been some legitimate concerns about this.
No discussion.
Mayor, I feel the same way. We've got business owners here tonight that have really brought up a very good point. That's so dangerous. Just trying to, if you're pulling out of the high school, La Fuente, Wilson's, any of that, you're taking your life at your own risk when you try to dart out there and find an opening. And then you throw in, oh my gosh, I have to look, there may be a pedestrian now, which you have to look anyway, but if it's a designated walkway, it would certainly be more dangerous to me. And it's almost like and I know you have to start somewhere, but it's like a sidewalk to nowhere. I mean, you start at CVS. Well, how are you going to get to CVS from downtown? You've got to go through that major intersection, whether it's by car or by foot, then you're not going to park and then use the sidewalk. So that doesn't make sense. I just think we could have maybe came up with a better idea of a project or ways to spend this money rather than just throwing a sidewalk. And you've got all those businesses, so you're going to have a lot of start and stops. You're going to have a lot of infringement on these businesses. You're going to have a lot of downtime for these businesses. So I agree with Alderman Bryant that we really need to look at this and take all of this into more consideration than what time we've spent on it thus far.
And I'll only note that every comment that's been said has been valid. But we do have pedestrians that are going up both sides. I witnessed somebody on the side, not on the side where you have the existing pedestrian bridge, but on the other side, walking with like a cane and cars like swerving around. So we do have pedestrian traffic. I would like, hopefully we can find some way to help these people out because everybody doesn't have a car, everybody doesn't have, so, but we do have pedestrian traffic. We do have current people putting themselves in harm's way. And absolutely, this may not be an ideal solution, but I hope that we can get to something that will help pedestrians. So that's my opinion.
I'm for moving it forward. Like I said, I wouldn't have made a motion, but I certainly want the people that's asked these questions here tonight, the state of Tennessee needs to answer those questions.
Yeah.
Safety issues.
Absolutely. Any other discussion? Pam, call the roll, please.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mr. Bryant?
Aye.
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Ms. Small?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
An item passed. These last several items are all permits. Item P, Lincoln County High School Homecoming Parade Permit. This is traditional for the high school for their homecoming to bring their parade of floats from the high school up through to the square, have a little ceremony, go back. So I just need a motion, a second on this.
So moved, Mayor.
That Mr. Martinez, any discussion? I'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Bryant?
Aye.
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Ms. Small?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
That item passed. Item Q, Bella Snowball 5K Run, November 13th, 2021. This is another existing, this is a 5K run. Need a motion, a second to approve this permit.
Motion to approve, Mayor. Second.
Any discussion? Pam, call the roll, please.
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Ms. Small?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mr. Bryant?
That item passed. Item R, First Nation Trail of Tears Walk, October 30th, 2021. This is a long-standing tradition where Native Americans that do the Trail of Tears and honor it from Adams Street on a walk up to the square for a ceremony. Need a motion, a second to approve.
Move to approve First Nation Trail of Tears, Mayor.
Second.
Second, Mr. Martinez. Any discussion? Can I call the roll, please?
Ms. Small?
Aye.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mr. Bryant?
Aye.
Ms. Allen?
That item passed. Last item, item S, Fayetteville Christmas Parade. This is also another long-standing tradition of our Christmas parade for December 4th, 2021. Need a motion, a second, please.
Motion to approve the Fayetteville Christmas Parade on December the 4th. Second.
Any discussion? Pam, call the roll, please.
Ms. Hartman?
Aye.
Mr. Martinez?
Aye.
Mr. Bryant?
Aye.
Ms. Allen?
Aye.
Ms. Small?
Aye.
That item passed. We'll go with our closing comments. Alderman Hartman.
Yes, I would just like to caution everybody to please stay safe during COVID. The numbers are continuing to climb. You hear a lot of tragic stories every week, it seems like, about someone new that has contracted this disease. So just be safe out there. Remember our children in school, and let's hope and pray that they can continue going to school during this COVID season.
Mr. Martinez.
I'd like to congratulate the new fire chief and his department. Looks like it's moving forward in the right direction. And congratulate the firemen that did leave, and the lady just left here. They're fast response on saving that gentleman's life or her life. I also like to thank the library new member, welcome, and the city, Fayetteville City School System. Thank you for being on board with us on this new journey that we're about to come on at the soccer field. And the two new hires that we did for our department HR, thank you. We finally got some seats filled.
Thank you.
Just like to piggyback off of Alderman Martinez. Congratulations to Chief Kimbrough, and thankful to the firemen for a job well done. Anytime you can resuscitate someone back to full life, it's so very fulfilling. And I want to know who that gnarly nurse is at the school.
Mr. Bryant.
We don't realize, or I don't realize, of course, being in the business I was in, I should have, I guess, some, but not to the extent of what I've realized since I've been on this board. First responders, whether it be county, state, national, it's what they have to deal with is very hard. I mean, they go to some really, really hard situations, be hard to deal with. And they don't get rich. These men and women don't get rich doing that. And I'm just so proud of all of them. Just not just the city, I'm proud of all of them. The ambulance drivers for the county and county, city, and all of them. We just don't know what it would be to not have them. If you pick the phone up, call 911, nobody comes, period. Just imagine what kind of world that would be we're living in. And they're doing this work, and they're not getting rich. So I just really do appreciate them.
Ms. Allen?
Same here. Congratulations to the new fire chief and the fire department. I wanted to mention a couple of things. Camp Blunt is hosting volunteer days. October 1st is a school day from 10 to 2. October 2nd, though, is open to the public from 9 to 4. So if you have a chance to get out for that, that'll be good. Also, the FHS Tigers are undefeated so far this year. They'll be traveling to Moore County this Friday and be back at home next Friday. Come out and watch them if you get a chance. And I wanted to thank all those who worked on the cruise in. It was fabulous.
Absolutely. We had a big win this past Friday. For those who were at the game, it went down the last 10 seconds, but we beat a 4A team that was ranked 7th that didn't feel like we should be on the ball field with them. And, you don't realize, but we're almost halfway through the season. So this is a special group of players. I encourage everybody to come out. We only have 2 home games left. One's I think on the 25th, and one is at the end of October against Eagleville. So please come out or travel regionally to watch our Tigers play. We did dedicate that drive for Tom Bailey. That was well deserved and valuable. Just what a great person he was, and glad to do that for him. Was noted about receiving this award at the conference this coming up weekend. We're proud to win this award. All the first responders were recognized this past Saturday at the ceremony for the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Where I live, I hear sirens every day, and that's a sound I don't really particularly like to hear. But there's a lot of activity in a small town for our first responders, and a lot of stress. So be mindful and supportive of them. And also, our utility sent 9 men down to Louisiana on the cleanup after Ida hurricane. So we have a lot of active projects going on. We thank everybody that came tonight, and we will adjourn this meeting to October.